Okay, so if you're like out there and dating right now, it can be kind of a lot, right?
It really can be.
Sometimes it's really exciting, sometimes it feels overwhelming and like I don't know about you, but I always have that hope that you'll find a real connection.
Totally.
Yeah. And that's kind of what we're diving into today with this book, Love Without Obsession,
Yeah.
a guide to mindful and fearless dating.
Fearless dating.
We read it and we wanted to bring you the key takeaways that can help you approach dating in a new way.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you can move forward with more confidence and just real curiosity about
Mhm.
the whole process and like a sense of ease.
Yeah.
The book really emphasizes this whole idea of going from dating being stressful to
Yeah.
dating being exciting.
Right. And that can be like a huge mental shift for a lot of people
It can.
because dating can be so anxiety producing for people.
Yes.
And one of the things that the book talks about is that there are certain like challenges that people often face.
Yeah.
Overthinking things, uncertainty, just not knowing where you stand with someone,
Yeah.
and then the societal pressures
Yeah.
of, needing to find the one.
Yes,
And then
totally. It's like a puzzle you're trying to solve, and half the pieces are missing.
totally.
But the good news is,
Yeah.
this deep dive is going to give you some strategies and a new way of thinking about things so
Yeah.
you can kind of tackle all that head on.
That's the goal.
Yeah. Okay, so let's jump right into a core idea. The book keeps coming back to uncertainty.
Yes.
It's a constant in early dating, right?
Absolutely.
You just don't know how things are going to go. And the book makes this really interesting point. Instead of being afraid of that uncertainty, we should just embrace it.
Yes.
Why does the source material suggest this shift in perspective?
Well, it basically says that uncertainty is actually what opens up all the possibilities.
Okay.
It's not a roadblock.
Yeah.
If everything was predictable
Yeah.
in dating, it would be kind of boring, right?
It would.
You'd know exactly how everything's going to play out.
Yep.
Uncertainty leads to these unexpected surprises,
Right.
discoveries about yourself and the other person.
Uh,
And it just like fuels personal growth.
yeah.
Like an essential ingredient of the whole experience.
Yeah. That's a great way to look at it, like that anticipation,
Exactly.
before something exciting.
Mm.
But I know for so many of us, that uncertainty is just like anxiety producing.
Oh, yeah,
You want to control the situation. You want to
Yeah.
get the answers.
of course.
What does the book say about trying to micromanage everything in the early stages of dating?
Well, if you think about it, trying to control the outcomes really just like pulls you out of the present moment.
Okay.
You're so focused on what might happen
Yeah.
or what you want to happen
Uh-huh.
that you don't even experience what's actually happening right now.
You're missing it.
You're missing it. And then it also leads to these unrealistic expectations.
Right.
And when those aren't met, that's when the anxiety comes in.
Yes, totally.
And also, I think a lot of times when we're trying to control things,
Yeah.
we're looking for reassurance.
Yeah.
And that can sometimes unintentionally push people away.
I relate to that for sure. It
Yeah.
can be so counterproductive.
Totally.
Um, the book also talks about how society kind of sets us up,
Oh, yeah.
for this anxiety with all these romantic ideals.
Yes.
Can you expand on that a little?
Yeah, well, we have these narratives
Mm-hmm.
that we're exposed to all the time about love,
Right.
like in movies,
Yeah.
on social media.
Yeah.
And it's all about this immediate connection.
Right.
Like you meet someone and you just instantly click,
Yeah.
and that's supposed to be the sign.
Like love at first sight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And the book challenges that
Okay.
and says, no, it's more about this process of exploration.
Uh-huh.
It's not just about finding your soulmate
Ah,
immediately.
Yeah.
It's about learning and experiencing different connections,
Yeah.
growing as an individual.
And I love that because it takes some of the pressure off. If you don't have that instant connection, it doesn't mean you failed,
Exactly.
Right.
Right.
And then the book also talks about the checklist mentality.
Yes.
I think so many people go into dating
Oh, for sure.
with this list in their heads
Absolutely.
of what they're looking for. What's
Yeah.
wrong with that?
Well, the book says that can actually blind you to potential connections.
Okay.
Because if you're so focused on like,
Uh,
does this person have this job?
yeah.
Are they this tall?
Right.
Do they like to do these things?
Right.
You might miss someone who would actually be a great match for you
Right.
just because they don't fit.
They don't check all the boxes.
Exactly. They don't check all the boxes. So instead of like evaluating so harshly,
Okay.
the book encourages this sense of curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
So like instead of saying, does this person meet my requirements?
Yeah.
Ask yourself, am I enjoying spending time with this person?
Uh-huh.
Do I feel comfortable and safe?
Yeah.
Is there something interesting about them?
Yeah.
Like those are better questions to ask.
I love that reframe. It
Yeah.
just feels so much more open
Yeah,
and less like judgmental.
for sure.
Yeah. And so then what about when things don't work out? That's
Yes,
a common experience
of course.
in dating.
Yeah.
How should we view those endings?
Well, the book says to not think of them as failures,
Okay.
but think of them as learning opportunities.
Uh-huh.
Each date, each connection
Yeah.
teaches you something about yourself,
Right. Mm.
about what you need in a partner,
Okay.
and what you're really looking for. And if you change your perspective like that,
Mm-hmm.
it's not as much of a blow
Yeah.
when things don't work out, and you can go into new connections with a healthier mindset.
Right. So it's about embracing that whole journey,
Exactly.
even the parts that are a little disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So then the book goes on to talk about shifting from anxiety
Yes.
to a place of exploration.
Right.
Like, how do we actually do that?
Well, we really emphasize this idea of mindset, that your mindset shapes your experience.
Right.
So if you go into it thinking, this is stressful
Yeah.
and high stakes and like, oh, am I doing the right thing?
Yeah.
It's going to feel that way.
Exactly.
But if you see it as an opportunity to learn about yourself
Uh-huh.
and connects with another human being,
Yeah.
it changes the whole experience.
Yeah.
It's not so much about the outcome.
Right.
It's about the journey.
Okay. So how do we actually do that when we're like on a date or
Mhm.
thinking about someone? How do we transform that tension into genuine curiosity?
Well, the book says to shift your focus.
Okay.
So instead of asking yourself, do they like me?
Yeah.
Am I making a good impression?
Right.
Ask yourself, what can I learn about this person today?
Uh-huh.
What are their interests?
Mm.
What are their perspectives?
Yeah.
What are their experiences?
Yeah.
And that takes the spotlight off of you and your anxiety
Okay.
and puts it on them.
I see.
And that can be really liberating.
Yeah, it totally flips the script, right?
Yeah.
Instead of being evaluated, you're the one who's like
Right.
curious and engaging.
Exactly.
I also really liked how the book compared dating to an interview
Yes.
versus dating as an adventure.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
Yeah, can you break that down a little more?
Sure. So with the interview mentality, you're kind of
Yeah.
like
Ah.
checking things off your list,
Yeah,
judging, are they meeting my criteria?
right.
And it feels very formal
Yes,
and kind of sterile.
it does.
But if you see it as an adventure,
yeah,
it's about discovery.
uh-huh,
It's about openness.
right.
It's about letting the connection unfold naturally
Yeah,
and not trying to force an outcome.
yeah.
So you bring in playfulness, spontaneity.
That sounds way more fun.
Yes.
Way less pressure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the book also talks about letting go of attachment
Mm-hmm.
to outcomes in early dating.
Yes,
That's a tough one.
it is.
How do we actually let go of those expectations?
Well, I think it's about taking a wait-and-see approach.
Okay.
Don't get fixated on whether this is going to be a lifelong partner.
Right.
Give yourselves time to get to know each other.
Hmm.
A great first date doesn't mean you're going to get married,
Right.
and a slightly awkward one doesn't mean it's over.
Exactly.
So just accept the uncertainty.
Yeah.
Be present.
Enjoy it.
Yeah.
The book also talks about shifting from looking for the perfect person
Right.
to building a relationship. What's the difference?
Well, they say that perfection is basically a recipe for disappointment
Mm-hmm.
because none of us are perfect.
That's true.
So instead of looking for perfect,
Yeah.
look for things like emotional safety.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel secure with this person?
Right.
Do you feel understood?
Yeah.
Is there mutual respect?
Mm-hmm.
Are you both willing to put in the work to build something,
Yeah.
to support each other,
Mm-hmm.
to face the challenges
Yeah.
together? And it also encourages you to look at your beliefs about what love should look like.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we have these ideas
We do.
that aren't realistic.
Yes. And I think those are often influenced by,
Oh, yeah.
media and things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So then the book talks about social media,
Ah,
the elephant in the room.
the big one.
How does that affect our expectations and our experiences?
Well, social media, it presents this highlight reel
Yeah.
of relationships, and it's easy to compare yourself
Yeah.
and feel pressured.
Totally.
So the book says to be mindful of how much you're consuming
Mm-hmm.
and how that might be affecting your expectations.
Okay.
And it also cautions against this idea of red flag culture,
Yes.
where you immediately dismiss someone
Yeah.
for like a minor imperfection.
Right. Like it's a deal breaker.
Yeah. And you might miss out
Uh,
on a good connection.
I think it's so easy to compare our own behind the scenes
Oh, for
to
sure.
everyone else's highlight reel.
Totally.
It's just not a fair comparison.
It's not.
Okay. So how do we fit dating into our lives? Right.
The book talks about reintegrating dating.
Yeah.
Why is that important?
Well, that's all about balance.
Okay.
It's easy to let dating take over,
Yeah.
especially when you meet someone you're excited about.
Yeah.
But the book says it should be a part of your life,
Mm-hmm.
not your whole life.
Right.
Because if it becomes your whole life,
Yeah.
it can lead to dependency.
Okay.
You lose yourself.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you just have more anxiety.
Yeah. That makes sense. So how do we maintain our individuality while we're dating?
Keep doing the things you love.
Okay.
Your hobbies, your interests.
Yeah.
Nurture your friendships. Those are so important
Yes.
for support and perspective.
Yeah.
And keep working towards your goals.
Right.
Remember who you were before you started dating?
Yes.
That's so key
It is. Yeah.
to staying grounded.
Yeah. And then the book also mentions this idea of social integration,
Yes.
like introducing the person you're dating to your friends.
What are the benefits of that?
Well, you can see how they interact
Okay.
with the people who are important to you,
Mm-hmm.
and that gives you insight into their personality.
Yeah.
And also, it kind of takes the pressure off
Okay.
of those one-on-one dates.
Right.
When you bring them into a group setting.
It's more relaxed.
It is.
Mm.
And your friends can give you their perspective too.
Right. They might see things that you don't.
Exactly. They know you well.
They do. And then the book also says to be an algorithm in real life.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Basically, it means don't just rely on dating apps.
Okay.
Go out and do things you enjoy.
Uh-huh.
Join groups, meet people organically,
Okay.
go to a book club,
Yeah.
a hiking group,
Right.
volunteer,
Mm-hmm.
take a class.
Yeah.
You're more likely to meet someone you connect with
Okay.
if you're doing things you both love.
Makes sense.
And you can also be the connector.
Oh, yeah.
Introduce your friends.
Right.
You never know.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And just don't rely on the digital world.
Yeah.
Get out there
Get out there. Yeah.
in real life.
And then also, instead of the typical dinner and a movie,
Yeah.
the book suggests some other ideas.
Yes. More interactive dates.
Okay.
Things that reveal personality.
Like what?
Like go on a hike or a bike ride.
Mm-hmm.
Take a cooking class together.
Yeah.
Go to an art exhibit.
Right.
Volunteer for a cause you care about.
Yeah.
These are all things.
Those sound fun.
Yeah.
And they take the pressure off.
Yeah, because you're doing something together.
Right.
Having an experience.
Okay, so then finally in this section, the book talks about that feeling of emptiness.
Mm-hmm.
If things don't work out,
Right.
how do we prevent that?
Go back to that idea of balance.
Okay.
Have a fulfilling life outside of dating, friends, hobbies, goals.
Yeah.
So that if a relationship ends,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like everything is over.
You have other things to fall back on.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're keeping things balanced.
Yes.
Now let's talk about vulnerability,
Okay.
which can be scary.
It can be.
You want to be open and authentic,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't want to get hurt.
Right.
How do we manage that?
Well, the book says vulnerability is not about oversharing on the first date.
Okay.
It's about revealing yourself gradually
Uh-huh.
at a pace that feels comfortable for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's about those small emotional risks
Okay.
while also honoring your boundaries.
Right, so it's not like you just download everything.
No, it's more nuanced than that.
Yeah, and how do we deal with that fear of getting hurt?
Be kind to yourself.
Okay.
Acknowledge your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to suppress them.
Right.
And when it comes to fear,
Yeah.
take small steps.
Okay.
See if the other person reciprocates your vulnerability.
Right.
Trust your gut
Mm-hmm.
and remember your worth,
Yeah.
no matter what they decide.
That's so important.
It is.
That reciprocity.
Yes.
Like, it can't just be one-sided.
Exactly.
And then the book also talks about dating as a learning experience.
Yeah.
Which kind of takes the pressure off.
It does.
You're right.
Because instead of every date being a test,
Uh-huh.
it's an opportunity to learn,
Mm-hmm.
to figure out your patterns,
Yeah.
to see what resonates with you.
Right.
What do you like?
And to grow from it.
Exactly.
Even if it doesn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what about people with anxious attachment styles?
Yes.
Those who need constant reassurance,
Mm.
they're overanalyzing every text,
Okay.
afraid of being abandoned.
Yes.
What does the book say about that?
Well, the book says to practice self-soothing.
Okay.
Remind yourself that you're worthy,
Yeah.
whether this person likes you or not.
Mm-hmm.
Stay present.
Okay.
Don't worry so much about the future.
Right.
And challenge those negative thoughts.
Yes.
Like if they don't text back right away,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean they're not interested.
Exactly.
It could be a million other things.
Yeah. Right. It's so easy to jump to conclusions.
It is.
And then self-reflection is also really important.
Yes.
How can that help us?
Well, it gives you a chance to step back
Okay.
and look at your patterns,
Mm-hmm.
see what your triggers are,
Yeah.
and figure out your boundaries.
Right.
You know, what are you comfortable with?
Okay.
What are you not comfortable with?
Yeah.
And that helps you create healthier connections.
Yeah. So it's about getting to know yourself better,
Exactly.
so you can navigate those vulnerable moments.
Hmm.
Okay, now let's talk about modern dating.
Yes.
Apps, social media,
The digital age.
as a whole different landscape.
It is.
What are some things to keep in mind?
Well, the book talks about dating apps as a double-edged sword.
Okay.
On one hand, you have access to so many people,
Yeah.
but on the other hand,
Yeah.
it can be superficial.
Mm-hmm.
People ghost.
Right.
You get overwhelmed with choices.
It can be a lot.
So the book says to be clear about your intentions.
Okay.
What are you looking for?
Yeah.
Move conversations offline quickly.
Right. Meet in person.
Exactly.
Don't get caught up in perfect profiles.
Yes.
And be yourself.
Absolutely.
That's so important.
But
But don't only rely on apps.
Yes, get out there and meet people in real life too.
Yeah. It can feel so isolating
Yeah,
to just be on apps all the time.
for sure.
So then what about social media's influence?
Yeah, well, the book says don't overanalyze their profiles.
Okay.
You know, what they post, who they follow,
Right.
doesn't tell the whole story,
It doesn't.
and avoid stalking them
Yes.
online.
Don't do that.
It just leads to assumptions and judgments.
Right.
And if social media is causing anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
talk about it
Yeah.
openly and honestly.
Okay.
And don't compare yourself
Right.
to what you see online.
Because it's not real life.
It's not.
It's just a highlight reel.
Exactly.
Okay, so the book also really emphasizes honesty and authenticity.
Yes.
Why is that so important?
Well, because in the modern dating world,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to feel like you have to play games
Right.
or be someone you're not.
Yeah.
But honesty is so refreshing
It is.
and it's more effective
Okay.
for building real connections.
Okay. So state your intentions early on.
Yes. Are you looking for something serious?
Yeah.
Or something casual?
Right.
Be upfront about it.
Okay.
Share your feelings.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And respect their honesty, too,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's not what you want to hear.
That's tough, but important.
It is.
And don't lead anyone on if
Yeah.
you're not feeling it.
Right.
Okay, so what about awkward first dates?
Oh, yeah.
Any tips for navigating that?
Well, first of all, just acknowledge the awkwardness.
Okay.
You know, it's normal to be nervous,
Yeah.
maybe even say it out loud,
Right.
like, oh, this is kind of awkward.
Yeah.
But hey,
Yeah.
ask open-ended questions
Yeah, okay.
to get the conversation flowing
Uh-huh.
and do something together,
Yeah.
an activity.
Right.
Like go for a walk or play a game.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off
It does.
of just staring at each other
Right.
and talking.
Yeah, those are good tips.
I hope so.
Yeah. Okay, so trust and risk.
Yeah.
Those seem to go hand in hand.
They do.
What does the book say about trust?
Well, trust is not about believing everything someone says.
Okay.
It's about looking at their actions.
Mm-hmm.
Do they do what they say they're going to do?
Right.
Are they consistent?
Okay.
Are they reliable?
Yeah.
Those are the things that build trust.
So it's earned over time,
Exactly.
not just given.
No.
Okay. And the book also describes trusting as a leap of faith.
Yes. Because you are making yourself vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
You're opening yourself up to the possibility of getting hurt,
Right.
but you're also opening yourself up to connection.
Right.
So start with small acts of trust.
Okay.
Share something personal.
Yeah.
Make a plan
Mm-hmm.
and see how they respond.
Okay.
Do they reciprocate
Yeah.
and communicate your needs? What makes you feel safe?
Oh.
What feels like a violation of trust?
Yeah.
Those are important conversations to have.
They are.
Yeah.
And then the book also talks about being overly hypervigilant,
Right.
but still watching out for red flags.
Yeah. It's a balance.
It is. How do we find that balance?
Trust your gut.
Okay.
If something feels off,
Yeah.
don't ignore it.
Right.
But also, don't let your past experiences
Yeah.
dictate how you see everyone.
Right.
Give people a chance.
Mm.
Don't overanalyze everything
Okay.
and communicate your concerns directly.
Right.
Don't just assume the worst.
Yeah, that's good advice. And the
Yeah.
book also says that risk is necessary
Yes.
if we want to connect.
It is. You can't have intimacy without vulnerability.
Uh-huh.
You have to be willing to get hurt
Right.
in order to experience real connection.
Okay.
And joy,
Mm-hmm.
stepping outside your comfort zone,
Yeah.
helps you grow,
Yeah.
no matter what happens.
Okay. And then finally, the fear of rejection.
Yes, that's a big one.
It is.
The book says, don't take it personally.
Okay.
It's not a reflection of your worth.
Right.
Separate your self-esteem
Yeah.
from whether someone wants to date you or not.
Okay.
See it as a learning experience.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes it's just incompatibility
Right.
or different life paths.
Mm.
And keep an open mind.
Mm.
The right person is out there.
Okay, so we've covered a lot.
We have,
The last key area is communication.
yes.
Why is that so central?
Communication is the foundation
Okay.
of any healthy relationship,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the early stages.
Right.
It sets expectations.
Yeah.
It prevents misunderstandings.
Uh-huh.
It builds connection.
Okay.
So many problems come from poor communication.
So how do we do it well?
Be clear from the start.
Okay.
What are your intentions?
Yeah.
Share your feelings authentically.
Right.
Don't play games.
Mm-hmm.
Be direct,
Okay.
even if it's a little scary.
Yeah.
And be open to hearing their intentions too,
Right.
even if it's not what you want.
That's hard,
It is.
but important.
It is.
Okay, and then the book also talks about asking questions.
Yes.
With curiosity versus expectation.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference?
When you're curious,
Yeah.
you genuinely want to understand them.
Okay.
You're not trying to get a specific answer.
Right.
You're not putting pressure on them.
Mm-hmm.
For example, instead of saying, where do you see this going?
Which is a loaded question.
It is.
Yeah.
You could say, how do you typically approach dating?
Okay.
That's more open-ended.
Right.
It's not a trap.
Yeah, it takes the pressure off.
Exactly.
And then the book also talks about listening,
Yes.
like really listening.
Active listening.
What does that look like?
It's more than just hearing the words.
Okay.
You give them your full attention.
Mm-hmm.
You acknowledge what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you nod
Yeah.
or you summarize.
Right.
You ask follow-up questions.
Okay.
And you don't interrupt it.